So I think um, uh, I guess in my head I synthesized something important and kind of like a more coherent thing than I usually have. Something approaching more like a theory, and so I'm hoping to summarize or kind of like explain the whole explain it here completely, or like just like coherently. Sorry. So I still need to kind of trace back as I talk, and hope to gather everything. I think for one, I'd I guess what word? Established, discovered, or something, or found that the idea, or I found that there are two instead of one inside the self. If that makes sense, it's not like one single agent. It's like because in my inner kind of narrative, inner narrative or inner mind sense, I don't know, mind maybe, if I'm just like normally forming thoughts and notions or ideas and things, I'm doing it. If I'm more, especially if I'm more doing it in a more personal kind of like salient, if that makes sense, kind of way, then I'll have this idea of me as a single single thing, with like single awareness, and everything that's inside myself is done from this one single I don't know, awareness, mind, intention, and there's this like implied kind of solitude kind of within the body, like there's only one, so therefore the one that is there's only one, like, and I think maybe I just have like it's kind of a tangent, but like this one example of like, I sometimes get fantasies of involving like life and death situations, and sometimes that's like kind of the experience of being at gunpoint or something, and it's like in those moments sorry in those moments, in that kind of emergency, like really really immediate kind of like sorry life threatening moment, that like immediate fear is like, this almost something that I know I can't deal with in the abstract, and I have this kind of conflict around this whole losing control in a moment of like immediate fear, kind of, where the fear is like so overwhelming, and it's so like I'm so helpless, or it's like renders causes such helplessness that there's this like annihilation, and I thought in that moment, I was thinking in relation to this like fantasy and this conflict, if there's if like that kind of the knowing of the existence or the happening or the reality of these kind of moments of experience of like annihilation, if it's so unacceptable, it's so unacceptable because the experience of it is like complete solitude, like the person experiencing that would you can't escape your own experience, so there's this solitude, that's what makes it so unacceptable, because there's something connected between that solitude and the reality of these moments where like something so unacceptable, like these life and death, like annihilating I guess happenings, and as well as like something like homelessness also, where was I going? Yeah, like I just kind of made that connection of like the solitude of it, and like the unacceptable kind of ness of it. It's yeah. I was thinking, I guess, in those fantasies, where I'm sorry, where I'm like held at gunpoint, like about to die, kind of thing. What if like I already knew prior to being the moment prior to being like being about to die, that I was already experiencing experience as two, like as two, not one. And in that sense, there's not one panicking. There's two where the processes aren't known, the emotional reactions aren't known, because there are two, because the knowing isn't self-evident, and therefore the emotional experience can't be so ready, can't be so certain. Like, there's still a process of communication that needs to happen between two, in order to like it's no, like, yeah, because like between two, there isn't like this knowing of like what each other is feeling, right? So we're experiencing, so there needs to be like communication or understanding. So it's more like in that moment, in facing life and death, there's less helplessness. um uh yeah, I guess like there are many ways to yeah, like for me to like further like illustrate things or explore, or like this, like make my point. Uh but I think I kind of wanted to illustrate, yeah, like kind of give something more tangible to what I mean, by there's two, there are there are two, and not one. And not one. uh Sorry. And that brings me to how difficult it is to live not as one, because yeah, just I can think to myself, I am two, and I'm going to be so much more in control. Like, I'm going to not fear death, not lose control in the same way, and I'm going to be more I don't know, impressive, like more effective in as a something in the world, and I can tell myself that, but I'll still I'll still go back to being one, and and so I was thinking, like, what is it that that makes it so, like, kind of thing. And I know one aspect of this is just that it's more entertaining to be one. It's easier to kind of replicate certain meaning structures, where, like, I'm trying to, like, prove something to the world, or I'm angry at the world, or the world is wrong. Just replicate these things in my head in some way, just as I'm, like, existing or something. And sorry, and so I guess that kind of falls on the idea, or heavily intersects with the idea of the ego and something like that. And yeah, like, and so I was thinking, kind of, I was thinking, yeah, the ego is probably some kind of manifestation where the mechanics are something to do with internalizing what the range of internalizing what's possible and what's impossible, because yeah, we experience the world, and the world kind of gets sorted into a pattern, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, there's this idea of, like, the collective unconscious, or just, like, culture, maybe, like, common sense. Like, we all have some assumptions, I guess, just of, we know the world, what the world is to other people, and that's kind of what I mean. Yeah, where, like, the world is something, and it's the something is what's possible and what's not possible. And I think in this way, the experience of self as one, or, like, as I say, the ego, is kind of this internalizing of the world as one, because everyone is one to the world, everyone is one only to the world, and the world imparts instructions to the one, of what's their responsibility. The world expects the one to give feedback, like in any way, whether that's submission or rebellion or anything. And so I guess to me, and I assume to everyone, like this ego is like almost, I would kind of take the liberty to say, like, is like almost a sort of empathy of this is how the world sees me, and therefore this is how I will see myself, or how I will define myself. So and I've kind of further thought that, like, normally I have these processes running, and I also have and I also have kind of like internal what I would feel like maybe are unacceptable or kind of dangerous, like, notions of things like maybe fantasies or almost like narratives of like greatness, or I don't know, or like being dangerous or being dominant in some way or being impressive in some way, I guess, that are kind of potentially destructive, like not really destructive because they're just fantasies, but I mean, obviously, yeah, like that should be obvious enough for me to not say it, but like yeah, but like dangerous, and like there's like a part of me that imagines me expressing these things and believing these things, because a part of me needs to believe them, needs them to be right, and so there's this sense of like almost a sort of uncertainty of how whether there are limits to the kind of greed, like the greed or the destructiveness or something like that to these, what it says about me, like, do I just want to take and inflate myself indefinitely? Like, is this because I'm not sure, like I can't express it, yet I want to express it, I want it to be true, so therefore, like, is it infinite? Like, as people, like, it's kind of like, I think of this like expression of like needs are limited and wants are infinite, and like I feel like this is kind of like the cognitive distortion behind that, like behind that expression, where like, are wants infinite, or is it just like wants that can't be, that are like, that can't be expressed, and like, so there's almost this paranoid aspect of like my wants are infinite, kind of thing, and sorry, I was going somewhere. Uh, oh yeah. So like, I have those like dangerous thoughts, fantasies kind of thing, and like yeah, for a long time I kind of been a little ambivalent about those things. Like it almost kind of is something that I have difficulty resolving, partly because I want to be able to exist freely and occupy myself and not have to be in this constant state of self-hate and self-limiting and like this feeling of like I need to be so punitive towards myself and so vulnerable, so pathetic. And I think that's like pretty universal thing. Like I hear it all the time, just being on social media and just like existing in the world. People like saying it in all kinds of ways. Like I think one most obvious one is like moralizing because it's like I guess kind of a projection where like there's like this condemnation, but the condemnation is also a condemnation of the self, kind of like somebody is condemning another because they're projecting something from themselves onto another person. So that's like basically one kind of more one kind of visible manifestation of that. Um, but yeah, like I thought like that kind of thing where it's almost like I wasn't sure, like I wasn't sure if this is just like an inherent state of existing as a person, like is it just human nature to be so so ugly, so justifiably just self-hating, kind of like, oh, I can't help it, I'm just a human, so I'm just gonna live in this compromised state where I can't take myself seriously. And um and and I thought and it kind of um I realized uh in view of like this like thing of what the ego is, and like there are two internally, and in view of that, like I think it can be said that some of these notions, these ideas, these tendencies, these feelings that imply like inflation, self-inflation, are I want to say defenses, like but I feel like it's like there are defenses of defenses. Like the defense is just there, I guess, and the defense of the defense is like knowing that I have a defense, yet kind of I just want to say it's not evil, it's not like selfish, it's not it's just, like, I think I had a way of, like, saying it. I think I had a more, appropriate, like, like, way of articulating it, but I forgot, and, now I'm calling it a defense of a defense. It's, but the whole thing makes me angry. It's like,